Hello and welcome to this glorious day, this day of wonders. There is news afoot, and it is glorious news, and that news is that Archeo has learned the correct way of doing the date. I swear he's doing this to troll me. He switches it up every single week. It's crazy. Archeo, man, you're killing me. I love you, but you're killing me with this. Anyway, No, obviously the news is that Archimedes and Magna Graecia has finally got its release date. It's releasing on the 31st of March. There is an updated roadmap, and this dev diary does have some more things on top of that as well. We didn't get a dev diary on Monday, as we usually do, because... I'm not saying because it's because of this, but I'm thinking it's probably because everyone... Paradox is actually at home, other than, like, really... essential personnel, because of the whole coronavirus thing, and on the topic of that, social distancing, practice it. Anyway, let's go into what we're actually going to get. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to announce that the Archimedes update and the Magna Graecia content pack will be available for your delectation on the 31st of March. And before we go any further, this artwork, man, good lord, it's glorious. That is beautiful. It's a shame that they cut Athena's head off, of course, but otherwise, that has got to be my favourite loading screen so far. I think it's awesome. I love it. It's great. But anyway, let's go further on. As you might be aware by now, Archimedes Update will be free for all users and contains the entire overhaul of the religion and omen mechanics, deities, sacred treasures, new events, additional content, and a dizzying array of bug fixes and balance tweaks. The Magna Graecia content pack, priced at $7.99, £5.79 or €7.99, will be available for purchase on all our usual platforms, and contains bespoke mission trees and content for Sparta, Athens, and Syracuse, a set of Hellenic-themed treasures, 3 new music tracks, the Apotheosis feature, allowing you to deify your past or present rulers, new Hellenistic deities replete with unique 2D art, and new 3D art for certain Greek nations, and we'll see more of that below. Again, before we go on, very, very nicely priced. I was expecting it to be at the €10 range. For them to pop it down to €8, I think is really competitive. It's good. If all of the content packs, the DLCs that we're going to get for Imperator are going to be priced this well, I think they're going to be okay. I mean, there could be more in the content pack. I've said this on multiple previous videos now, that you need to have more in the paid part to really sell people on actually buying the DLC. For people who don't like, for example, the mission trees, you need more than just that. But at $7.99, I think even that people that don't like mission trees will still find value in it. For instance, the Apotheosis feature. Making your ruler into a god is something that I think is just incredible. I want to do that. It doesn't add you like that much power, but as just a role-playing kind of perspective, that's amazing. That is actually amazing, and I love it. But what I will say is, on that subject, Apotheosis feature is a part of the paid DLC. But there is an achievement for it. Let's just quickly pop on over to the achievements, because we learned this last week. There's an achievement, one of the new ones. As a polytheistic country, have a state pantheon composed entirely of deified rulers. I mean, I guess it's still possible if the AI deify the rulers, and there are some rulers that you can deify anyway, like Alexander, for instance, can do that. But it's gonna be a harder achievement for people who don't own the DLC than it is for people who do. So that's certainly interesting. That's not something I'd thought about until right this second. Some more treasures as well to go in your holy sites. I like it. New Hellenistic deities. It's cool. I like it. It's good. I think it's well priced. It's good. I would certainly buy it if I was me. But anyway, moving on. In addition to this news, I'd like to share an updated roadmap graphic with you. I'll begin to reveal more details about future plans as we get a bit closer, but this will serve to indicate my development intentions going forward. So, right now we have the Archimedes update with the Magna Graecia content pack. That is the Spring of Religion. Summer of Culture is going to be the Menander update, and I've seen some people say that, it's very strange that they're not doing a paid content pack with these. I don't think that's the case. I think there is more than likely, like almost certainly, going to be a paid portion of this. It's just they're not going to put it in a graphic immediately when it hasn't been announced yet, of course. So yeah, we're going to get the Menander update, and I'm fairly confident we're also going to get another content pack. What I would hope for is Daidoki Wars, something like that. That would be my desire, at least. Then we're going to have the Autumn of War. There's going to be, I think, a content pack along with that, which I think maybe should be something to do with India, perhaps, might need a bit of help. Maybe include Bactria in that as well. Indo-Greek kingdoms for those areas over on the east, perhaps. And this is the free update is going to be focused all on warfare, so I have no idea what to expect with that. And then more content to come. We're going to obviously have a winter update as well, which I'm hoping is going to be something like Winter of Trade. Winter wasn't exactly the best time to do trade with the Mediterranean storm season and all that kind of jazz. But it doesn't matter. I think that is still going to be something I would love to see. So yeah, that's the new roadmap. And moving on. And now for those of you who have patiently awaited additional gameplay content, here are some minor changes we're making to each of the focus tags in Magna Graecia. It's my firm belief that the identity of a playthrough in Imperator is composed of that feeling of uniqueness that exists as a combination of the many small aspects that make up your nation. As we develop Imperator, these small but individual changes to tags are an incredibly important part of differentiating between Tag A and Tag B, in combination with interactions and features enabled by other defining aspects of a nation, religion, culture, and more. Basically, what he's saying here is he's heard the big complaints from people, which are every country feels the same. You can play one country and you might as well be playing another country because it feels the same. Blah, 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 blah. I disagree with most of the comments on that. I certainly think there is an element of truth to it, but I don't agree that, you've played one, you've played them all. I think that's complete garbage. But he has heard these complaints, and they are common enough for them to be taken seriously. So I think that's what that's all about. He wants Imperator to have, every tag or every important tag. You're never going to get every single tag to play uniquely with their own unique mechanics. However big or small these mechanics may be, they should be unique to them. They should have something about them that's like, okay, that's an Athens mechanic, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be impossible, like literally impossible, to get a unique mechanic, even if it's just a button, for every single tag in the game, because simply we don't know enough about many of the tags. A lot of the Gallic tribes, the writings we have about them come from a culture, the Romans, who saw them all mostly the same. They're just another tribe. They're at war with this other tribe, but they're the same people. They're brothers fighting each other. That's what they thought. They're all just barbarians. They're all the same. Similar with the Greeks. They're all the same. All these barbarians are all the same. And when that's pretty much the sum total of what we know about these tribes, about these people, then there's not much to go on. There really isn't. So you can't expect to have unique mechanics for every nation in the world. And yeah, a lot of tribes will play the same purely based on that fact. Because the only writings we have about them tell us that they did play the same. So, yeah. Anyway, as Athens, alright, so we're going into what Athens will get as their unique mechanic. You'll be able to revive the ancient punishment of ostracization, a character interaction that acts much like banishment, but is usable without imprisoning the target. You'll incur a hefty tyranny cost as well as the ire of the target's family, and you'll have no control over where their target flees or what they get up to when they get there. The power of being able to deal with unruly characters is offset by a high variable tyranny cost and the increasing reluctance of the ecclesia to support your actions at high tyranny. So it's equal to half the cost. It's equal to half the power base. So that's quite a lot of tyranny that you will get. And God, I hate to say this, but immediately I've got a little bit of a problem with this one. As far as I'm aware, and you know what, maybe I am wrong about this, but the way that I understand ostracization to work in ancient Athens, though this was around the period of, the Persian Wars, was that all of the citizens of Athens would write down a name, and then whoever got the most votes was banished. They were ostracized. That's where it comes from. This doesn't seem that way. This seems more along the lines of, I need to get rid of this character, so I'm going to banish him. And it's going to cost me a lot, but I can get rid of him. This seems very much like a corrupt version of what ostracization was. So I would be totally fine with having this if you had a ruler with a shit ton of corruption. Because then you can imagine that, okay, the regular ostracization process has been corrupted by the ruler, and he's saying, oh, the results are in, and it's this guy, when it wasn't this guy. You see where I'm coming from this? What I think might be a little bit better is that you get some kind of algorithm that takes into account a character's popularity, a character's corruption, a character's charisma, their power base, and then some kind of mathematical formula later, it chooses a character and they fuck off. You won't know, unless you look into the files, what the calculation would be. So from the player's perspective, it would be somewhat random. Obviously, it would be a prominent character in your nation, so it wouldn't be like, oh, this guy that no one gives a shit about is currently ostracized for no reason. It wouldn't be like that. It would be a prominent character that you know, that you have used. Maybe he's a governor, maybe he's a general. It could be your best general, and they would end up being ostracized. So it would be a double-edged sword. You might use this ostracization mechanic thinking, okay, we might get lucky, and the person who's causing me problems might get told to fuck off to Sparta or wherever. But on the same token, you might end up in a situation where your best general gets told to fuck off. And that's what I would love to see. I would love to see that. As well as having a law that you can pass to get rid of the ostracization mechanic and call back all the characters that were ostracized. That's what I'd love to see. But I'm not too happy with this one. But anyway, moving on, Sparta. Now, I do love what I see here. I think this is phenomenal. This is awesome. So, as Sparta, a tall military playstyle can be enriched by 2 new provincial investments, which replace provincial procurators and mystery cult for your nation. So, provincial procurators was the military-ish clique that gave you a plus production output for all pops, I think by 4%, maybe it was 2%, I can't remember. And that was a pretty good one. But now that's being replaced with plus 2% primary culture happiness, plus 5% cohort recruit speed, and plus 6% local freeman output. Really, really good. I like that a lot. Very much focusing in on what you're doing with the... What I'm trying to say is that the original military clique was all pops got a bonus. Now you've got free helots which focus in on the freeman. And then on the other hand, you have commission heroic freezers, which will give you plus 3% citizen output and plus 4% supply limit. So on the other hand, instead of the plus 1 or 2% own religion happiness, you instead get a bonus to your citizens. So again, you're just like, instead of the original military clique, you're like, okay, I can focus on my freemen, or I can focus on my citizens. I like this a lot. This is fantastic. And yes, it is just replacing a button that is already there. I know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. This is still a really good change. It makes Sparta unique without making them so different to everyone else that it's a shoo-in that you have to play Sparta or you're not getting the full Imperator experience kind of thing, you know? And moving on. So, the change of these investments open up opportunities for some highly optimized core provinces in combination with the Spartan mission trees. Very nice. Moving on to Syracuse now. They also get some unique stuff. And again, this is something I really do like a lot. The unique mechanic for Syracuse plays off a desire to retain a focus on the famous city-states of geographical Magna Graecia, as well as draw on the famous and ruthless nature of Agathocles' past. So, what we can do is we can choose to be able to release a single city as a client state, having installed a puppet governor. The new subjects have a 50% bonus to their base manpower, ensuring that they punch well above their weight in terms of supported army. For each of the subjects you own, you'll receive a small reduction in mercenary maintenance cost, and if you double down on the mercenary life, you'll be able to utilize a new character interaction, which will let you elect a new ruling line from among your mercenary subjects. And that is part of the Magna Graecia content pack, all three of those things. So yeah, before we move on to the next part, I'm just going to talk about this a bit. This could be really good or really, it could be good or it could be really good. So right now, it said it's going to be released as a client state. The in-game tooltip, however, says it will become a free city. I'm hoping that Free City is its own vassal type, rather than it being a client state or a feudatory. I hope Free City ends up being its own vassal type. And what I hope for with this vassal type is that you can have maybe up to 5 for one Diplo slot. Because if they just become client states, every client state, of course, takes its own relationship slot, and you are going to run into big problems very, very soon if you just release them all as clients. That's not going to work. You're going to go over your relation slot if you even try and, use this mechanic very much. If you want to get the most out of the mercenary maintenance cost reduction, you're going to want a lot of these things. And, of course, having a vassal swarm is incredibly powerful. Feudatory swarm play is probably the most powerful form of play. If you're doing multiplayer and you're not utilizing feudatory swarms, you might be doing something wrong. But yeah, it's super, super powerful. I think having them as feudatories would be too overpowered. Having them cost no Diplo slot is too powerful, but again, having them each take a single Diplo slot is too weak. I think somewhere in the middle where you can have, maybe 2 to 5 on a single Diplo slot, with a law perhaps that will allow you to have more in a Diplo slot. Something like that would be really cool. I think I like that quite a bit. But yeah, I like that a lot. So it costs you 50 political influence to release one of these governments, release one of these cities, and you get a free city led by a local mercenaries. They'll be our subject with a bonus to their base manpower. The fact that they get the bonus to their base manpower makes me a little bit more confident that they are a completely separate vassal type, and I hope that's the case. Every 5 years, if you're the monarchy government type, which Syracuse of course is, you can choose to depose your current ruler, replacing them with a ruler belonging to one of your mercenary states. It can be done with character interactions and requires the mercenary contract law to be enacted. So again, if you have a really trash ruler, like maybe he's a 0-1-2-1, like that's fucking garbage. But one of your little mercenary vassals has like a 10-10-9-10. You're gonna want to choose the other dude. So I think definitely this is certainly worth looking into. If you're a Syracuse player, I think this kind of play is interesting, first and foremost, and the most important thing is that it's interesting. I think it's interesting, and it's certainly looks fun. So yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for that. So moving on a little bit less, because I want to go back to this and just point out the new UI here. We've got down in the bottom the UI showing your lovely your holding mechanics. So if you've got somebody with a holding in Katane, you'll have his face pop up there. I think that's pretty well placed. No real complaints about that. Right here we have, I believe, this is the shrines mechanic in play. So I think that's where that's going to go. And then up in the top, now originally when I saw this, I was like, oh, there's a new button. But it's not a new button, it's just different. So this button is the change governor button. Of course, when you're looking at Syracuse itself, Siculia is owned by the ruler, so you're never going to be able to change the governor like that. But at the same time, that button's changed, and I don't know why, because the previous button was perfectly acceptable. I really didn't have a problem with it, so I don't know why it's changed, and I don't know. Maybe you have some thoughts on that. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, in the Archimedes update, so one of the quality of life things, we have a new feature, which is favoriting characters. Also, Arheo, you're British, mate. You're British. What's this? What's this? Favorite has a U in it. Yeah, you're British. Anyway, so this was the star that was teased at the end of the last dev diary, and it will have your favorited character put over in the outliner, which is quite nice. These guys will be removed from your favorite list if they die. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you want to keep track of someone who's dead, so that's maybe a little bit iffy, but at the same time, what I'm mostly going to use this for is to keep track of the people that I'm inspiring disloyalty on, so that I can see immediately if they go below below 25 loyalty, so I can entice governor. That's what I'm mostly going to use this for. I think that's pretty good. What I would suggest, though, is to also have their age. I want their age on here, because another thing that I really want to keep track of is when I can have my son be tutored, or when I can marry off my daughters to another dude, or marry my sons to a daughter, right? You know, that's what I would generally like to see. So if you just added their age here, that would be quite nice. But yeah, before we move away from this screen, I want to point out the map, because we have got 2 rows of lovely map mode buttons back. It's a bit less than it used to be. Now we only have 7 slots on the top, 7 slots on the bottom, instead of the 8 and 8 that we had previous to the Livy update. I think it was the Livy update that changed this. So it's a bit less, but certainly 14 buttons is damn sight better than the shit amount of 7 that we've got now. So yes, thank you. He has heard the complaints, the very valid, very on the nose, very correct complaints that this was not a good way to have your map. And he's given us 2 rows again. So yes, thank you very much. Much improved. Now, finally, as a final thing we've done as part of the Archimedes update is to add a series of startup events and choices for the Diadochi nations, which makes the starting situation a little more deterministic. So that means a little bit more railroady. I felt that the regional narrative in Greece was often lacking. As such, the Fourth War of the Diadochi is much more likely to occur, with various rare outcomes still being possible. I am on point with this. I'm very much on board with this. Yeah, it might be a little bit more railroady, but I would much rather see 90% of my games have a big old war between Phrygia and the rest of the Diadochi than what is currently the case, where I see that maybe 10% of the time. Yeah, perfect. I want to see these big chunky wars, and if you have to use events that kind of railroad the AI into doing this, I'm totally on board with that, because at this point, when the game starts, it is like almost inevitable that the Diadochi War is going to break out, or break out more, because at this point, Makaton and Phrygia were sort of already kind of fighting. but it was like almost inevitable that there was going to be a massive conflict. That was never going to be avoided. So having it almost never be avoided in the game is probably a good idea. And now, finally, last but not least, a promised look at some of the unique unit models that the owners of Magna Graecia will receive. So we've got Sparta, of course, we have ourselves Athens, we have Syracuse, and finally, this lovely little number, we have all of the Cretan nations. So, you know, the Minotaur of Crete. I like it. That's pretty fucking cool. Probably the best unit model in the game right now, I'd say. Love it. Fantastic. I will say a lot of people have been saying that maybe Sparta should be a little bit more red than brown, and while I would agree for the most part, I'd say the shield is still certainly should be, you know, bronze. So yeah, a little bit more red in the clothes maybe, but I like it. I think it's pretty damn cool. Now that is the dev diary done. There is some little comments below. So apart from favourite king characters, will this all be part of the content pack? The Daidoki events mentioned below, the favourite characters are also part of Archimedes, but broadly, yes. Lovely. Our Imperator Rome dev diary is going to be on Tuesdays. It's a Wednesday today, mate. So again, time is a subjective concept at the moment, but I believe it's Wednesday. However, no, this departure is only, it's a temporary affair because of the whole Corona business. And yeah, that's it. That's your lot. That is your Wednesday dev diary. And, next week we're probably going to be back on Mondays. But I would love to know what you guys think, especially of this artwork, because I personally think it's fucking beautiful. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you want to keep up to date on all Imperator Rome news and updates and let's plays and multiplays and all that kind of good stuff, then subscribe is appreciated. Thank you. And yeah, it's looking pretty damn good. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into Archimedes and Magna Graecia, and we'll see where we go from there. So thank you all very much for watching. Keep safe, social distancing, it's nothing to be taken lightly, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.